An average patron simply approached a slot machine at Caesar's Palace, engaged in play for precisely 18 minutes, and cashed out a modest $320 profit. Before he could even step away from the machine, two uniformed security guards materialized at his elbow. He hadn't been caught cheating, nor was he employing any unauthorized devices. He wasn't intoxicated or causing a scene. Yet the actions he took are part of a strategy that casinos nationwide have quietly begun using to ban players. Actions many people take daily, completely unaware that their every move is being intensely scrutinized. Finally, former casino surveillance directors are breaking their silence, detailing a perfectly legal yet highly effective strategy that results in the lifetime exclusion of dozens of players monthly. If you have been unknowingly employing this method at your local establishment, chances are you are already flagged within their internal system. The information I am prepared to disclose might clarify the sudden disappearance of your players' club offers, the unsettling persistence of a nearby pit boss, or that chilling, knowing look you received from the cage clerk during your last cash out. By the time we conclude this discussion, you will understand this deceptive trick, why casino management views it as an existential threat to their profitability, and the sophisticated methods their surveillance systems employ to track those who use it. But before we dive deeper, I need to pose a quick question. Have you ever felt the gaze of casino security or pit bosses lingering on you longer than normal? Perhaps you noticed someone shadowing you as you transitioned between machines. Or have your players' club rewards mysteriously diminished without explanation? Share your experiences in the comments, as what I am about to share might be the definitive answer to those peculiar occurrences. Allow me to introduce you to Marcus, a 58-year-old retired postal worker living in Phoenix. Marcus had been a fixture at his local casino, visiting reliably twice a week for roughly 3 years. He was neither a whale nor a high roller, just an average patron who typically budgeted $250 or $300 per trip, enjoying a couple of hours on the slots, followed by dinner at the buffet before returning home. His results were typical, oscillating between wins and losses, just like the vast majority of players. However, Marcus eventually cracked a code. It wasn't illegal, nor was it technologically complex. It was simply a pattern he had meticulously observed over hundreds of hours spent navigating the casino floor, and crucially, it was yielding consistent results. For 6 consecutive months, Marcus systematically left the casino in profit. His wins were never huge, perhaps $150 to $300 per visit, but the consistency was undeniable week after week, month after month. Then, one Tuesday afternoon in October, the routine was shattered. Marcus was focused on the Buffalo Grand Machine at his preferred denomination, enjoying a profitable session, up approximately $180 when he spotted 2 security guards making a measured approach. They were neither hurried nor aggressive, yet it was painfully clear he was their target. The senior guard, maintaining a polite but absolutely firm demeanor, informed him that the pit boss required a word. In a back office Marcus never knew existed, he was confronted with a sight that made his heart sink: surveillance footage, not just from the current day, but spanning his last 20 visits. Every single machine he occupied, every path he took across the floor, every transition from one area to another, the precise timestamps and movement patterns were documented in terrifying, meticulous detail. The casino manager, a woman in her 40s, holding a tablet dense with data, fixed Marcus with an unwavering gaze and delivered words that shocked him to his core. Sir, we've been monitoring your unique playing patterns for the past 4 months. While we genuinely appreciate your business, we have determined that your style of play is fundamentally incompatible with our established business model. Effective immediately, you are being permanently banned from this property and all affiliated locations. You have precisely 10 minutes to process your cash out and depart the premises. Should you attempt to return, you will be apprehended and charged with criminal trespassing. Marcus was left stunned and utterly speechless. He tried desperately to argue that he had done nothing wrong, had never cheated, and had violated no posted casino rules. The manager immediately interrupted him. You have not violated any specific laws, but this establishment is private property, and we retain the absolute right to refuse service to anyone. Your player's club account has been terminated. You must leave immediately. As Marcus took his last walk out of the casino, he was oblivious that an identical, quiet confrontation was unfolding in gaming establishments across the nation. Hundreds of average players were being permanently barred, not for cheating, not for breaking written regulations, but for the unforgivable sin of being too observant and too strategically savvy. So, what was the activity that ultimately led to Marcus's banishment? He was engaged in pattern tracking and zone hopping. If those terms are unfamiliar, you must pay critical attention, as you may be employing these strategies without realizing the inherent danger. What Marcus had deduced, a secret now confirmed by former slot technicians and casino floor managers, is this: while the outcome of every individual slot machine spin is undeniably random, governed by an internal random number generator, casinos do not operate their slot floors based on singular randomness. Instead, they manage the entire floor in designated zones, groups or banks of machines that operate with coordinated payout schedules. Contemporary casinos rely on highly sophisticated slot management platforms. Industry giants such as IGT, Konami, and Scientific Games have engineered software enabling operators to remotely calibrate the performance parameters of entire sections of the floor, not just individual units, but massive zones. This recalibration is dynamic and continuous, responding to dozens of metrics, including the time of day, day of the week, pedestrian traffic flow, current promotional schedules, and even external factors like local events or weather. This is what truly occurs outside of player view. During lulls, perhaps a quiet Tuesday morning, when the floor is largely deserted, they might strategically loosen a zone near the main entrance or dining areas. The objective is to engineer noticeable, visible wins designed to entice the sparse clientele present. Conversely, during peak times, like bustling Friday and Saturday nights, those same zones can be significantly tightened because the attraction factor is no longer necessary. The facility is already saturated with patrons. Furthermore, casinos meticulously program promotional cycles around physical areas. If a tournament or special event is staged in one section, they routinely boost the overall payout percentage within that entire zone to manufacture excitement, generate palpable buzz, and naturally draw crowds. Casino floor executives label this practice dynamic floor optimization. Savvy players, once they catch on, call it something far less clinical. Marcus, unaware of the technical terminology, had nonetheless clearly observed the resulting pattern. He recognized that particular areas of the gaming floor underwent distinct cycles. For a few hours, or occasionally even a few days, the machines within a specific section would generate wins more frequently than others. These weren't necessarily massive jackpots, but rather consistent action, steady small wins, and mid-level bonuses, sufficient to maintain player engagement and the continuous flow of coin in. Marcus's refined approach was elegantly simple, yet profoundly effective. He would begin his visit by dedicating 20 to 30 minutes to walking the floor. He wouldn't play, he would merely observe. He was looking for areas where players were visibly celebrating small wins, sections radiating that distinct buzz of activity where you could reliably sense that payouts were occurring. He would then concentrate his play entirely within that identified hot zone. Crucially, Marcus avoided the common player mistake of settling on a single machine for hours. He would play a machine within the hot zone for a tight window of 15 to 20 minutes. If the machine provided any profitable action, he would cash out his modest win immediately. If it turned cold, he would shift to another machine within the same zone. He was effectively chasing the energy, riding the crest of whatever dynamic or promotional cycle that section was currently experiencing. When an entire zone finally went cold, when the action definitively evaporated across multiple machines in that area, Marcus would immediately pull anchor. He would walk to a completely separate sector of the casino and restart his observation phase, hunting for the next zone showing signs of life. And he'd repeat the process. For 6 months, this strategy worked incredibly well. He rarely had a losing session. Former casino executives and surveillance specialists have finally explained why this particular strategy sends casino management into a frenzy. Marcus's fundamental assumption was correct. Casinos absolutely program their floors using zones with deliberately varying payout cycles, and the cardinal rule is that players must never decipher this arrangement. To understand why, one must grasp the core business model the industry relies upon. They desperately need players to remain glued to a single machine for lengthy durations. They require patrons to willingly endure brutal cold streaks, continuing to feed cash into the machine during dry spells under the belief that their luck is due to shift at any moment. The entire revenue structure of the slot floor is predicated upon player persistence and the psychological trap of the sunk cost fallacy. When a player has already invested $100 into a game, they internally rationalize that they are due for a bonus. When an hour has passed with zero notable returns, they convince themselves that the very next spin holds the promise of a massive win. It is during these prolonged cold streaks that casinos generate the bulk of their profit. This is when the house edge maximizes its advantage. Players like Marcus systematically dismantle this profit model by consistently migrating between zones, exploiting promotional cycles, and effectively cherry-picking profitable action. They are playing the system perfectly without violating a single statutory rule. They are exposing the multi-million-dollar floor management strategy that operators rely on customers remaining utterly ignorant of. Industry veterans clarify the dynamics starkly. If you remain at a single machine and hit a $2,000 jackpot, the casino adores you. They will celebrate your success, photograph you, and leverage your win for marketing purposes. If you spend 4 hours losing your entire bankroll on that same machine. The casino loves you exponentially more. That is their ideal, predictable customer. However, if you are a player who constantly moves, expertly avoids the unprofitable, dead zones, and consistently exits the property in profit, visit after visit, you are designated a major problem. Not because you are cheating, but because you have successfully reverse engineered their strategy. The true terror for casino operators is not the lone genius. It is the existential fear that if this technique proliferates, if, say, 20% of their slot players adopted zone hopping and pattern tracking, the entire foundational business model would catastrophically collapse. They would lose their crucial ability to engineer profitable floor cycles. They couldn't afford to loosen specific zones for marketing attraction because informed players would instantly swarm those areas, bleeding the house dry. The entire, highly calibrated system would effectively cease to function. The surveillance system. Now, the narrative pivots to a territory that is both fascinating and deeply unsettling. Former surveillance directors are now disclosing the exact methodology casinos use to identify players employing these sophisticated techniques. Every movement you make on the casino floor is tracked and logged. This tracking is not limited to active play. It includes when you are merely walking and observing, when you pause behind another player to watch their machine, and every single transition between games. All of it is recorded. Modern casino surveillance relies heavily on advanced AI-powered tracking software. This is no longer the domain of a lone technician monitoring a bank of screens. These systems automatically generate an incredibly detailed profile for every individual patron who enters the premises. The software records your average session duration on every machine, meticulously monitors the length of time you spend observing before sitting down, logs the frequency of every cash out, and maps your specific movement patterns across the entire property. Crucially, it flags any behavior that represents a significant deviation from statistically normal player activity. This is the specific activity that activates their alert systems. If you occupy a machine, play for 10 or 15 minutes, and then move to an entirely different section of the casino, that is considered standard behavior. Players frequently switch games looking for entertainment. However, if your session looks like this, play for 12 minutes, cash out a $60 win, immediately walk to a new designated zone, play a different machine for 15 minutes, cash out another win, and subsequently repeat this exact methodical pattern 5 or 6 times during a single visit, the system will flag you instantly. The software is specifically trained to look for what surveillance operators term zone hopping patterns. Individuals who habitually shift between disparate sections of the floor instead of concentrating their play in one localized area. It flags patrons who engage in prolonged observation prior to initiating play, those who cash out winnings with high frequency instead of enduring long sessions, and, most critically, players whose profit-loss ratio is statistically abnormal when measured against their total coin-in. And this is the element that should provoke deep concern in every regular casino player. The system rarely issues an immediate flag. Instead, it systematically compiles a comprehensive profile over a span of time, specifically searching for consistency across numerous visits. A single exploratory session involving frequent movement is not inherently suspicious. However, 15 visits over 2 months, where you replicate the identical systematic pattern every single time, That is when you solidify your presence on their official radar. Former surveillance employees outline the procedure meticulously. Once flagged, an individual is assigned to manually review your historical footage, not merely today's session, but video from your last 10, 15, or even 20 visits. They generate a detailed movement map detailing your foot traffic. They scrutinize timestamps, logging the precise duration of play at every machine. They calculate your exact win-loss ratio relative to your total coin in. They are methodically constructing an ironclad case. If the evidence confirms that you are consistently generating profit by exploiting their underlying floor management system, the process for permanent exclusion is initiated. Yet, they seldom act immediately. They continue to monitor and document, seeking absolute certainty, as a ban often carries the potential for confrontation. Thus, they observe, record, and build an indisputable profile, proving you are a high-level advantage player. Marcus remained completely oblivious. He genuinely believed his approach was merely smart, observant, and strategic. He had no idea that for 4 solid months, every single step he took was being analyzed by advanced artificial intelligence and scrutinized by surveillance personnel dedicated to building a case file against him. Let me present a second case study involving another player named Linda. She was a 62-year-old widow residing about 15 minutes from a tribal casino in Northern California. While Linda lacked Marcus's systematic sophistication, she had observed a fascinating detail. Every Thursday afternoon, the property ran a special called Lucky Thursday, featuring enhanced functions or bonus multipliers on specific slot titles. What Linda realized over several months of dedicated play was simple yet immensely profitable. They were not merely enhancing individual games, they were boosting the payout potential of entire zones. The casino would elevate the payout percentage on every machine within that promotional section to generate widespread excitement and pull foot traffic toward that area. This was clever marketing, entirely legal and transparent. Linda began arriving punctually every Thursday at 1:45 p.m., 15 minutes before the promotion officially kicked off. She would secure a position within the designated promotional zone and play exclusively in that area for the full 3-hour duration. She would migrate between different machines within the hot zone, but never strayed to other parts of the casino floor. She even meticulously maintained a hand-written log of her results. Over 4 months, spanning 16 consecutive Thursday visits, Linda successfully converted her consistent $200 budget into cash outs routinely ranging from $320 to $450. She was ecstatic. She had discovered a sustainable method to enjoy her weekly outing while consistently generating profit. She even began inviting her sister and a close friend, sharing her lucrative Thursday secret with her small circle. Then, on a Thursday morning during her 5th month, Linda drove to the casino as usual. She parked, approached the Players Club desk to claim her daily promotional entry, and was delivered news that was absolutely crushing. Her Players Club account had been permanently shut down. When she demanded an explanation, the desk supervisor, a staff member Linda had frequently engaged in friendly conversation with, refused to make eye contact. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but management has flagged your account. You are no longer eligible to participate in any promotions. Your club card is deactivated. We are unable to provide any further specifics." Linda pressed hard for answers, even threatening to contact the Gaming Commission. The supervisor then escalated the issue to a manager. The manager pulled Linda aside and was chillingly direct. You have been strategically utilizing our promotional calendar to maximize advantage play. We have concluded that your continuous participation in the Thursday promotions has generated a negative expected value for this casino. While you have not violated any specific gaming regulations, we are exercising our legal right to exclude you from all promotional activities and membership benefits. Linda was devastated. She realized she hadn't cheated. She had simply paid strict attention to the opportunities the casino itself had advertised and consistently participated when those opportunities were most favorable. For this simple act of strategic observation, she was permanently blacklisted. Former casino managers confirm that this scenario is rapidly becoming standard practice across the industry. Casinos accept that players will occasionally benefit from promotions. This is an expected marketing cost. However, players who decipher the underlying patterns and exploit them consistently, visit after visit, immediately become targets. They are extracting far too much value and actively costing the establishment money rather than generating the required revenue stream. From the casino's perspective, the calculation is brutal. If Linda risks $200 every Thursday and averages a $350 cash out, she is winning $150 per visit. Over 4 months, this equates to $2,400 in losses attributed to a single player. Multiply this by the sister and friend she brought along, and the casino is now hemorrhaging $7,200 every 4 months, solely due to 3 players who cracked their promotional strategy. That financial loss is entirely unsustainable. The legal reality. Here is the harsh, uncomfortable legal truth that former casino executives emphatically stress. Casinos are designated private property. They possess the statutory authority to refuse service to any individual for virtually any reason, provided the exclusion is not based on protected characteristics such as race, gender, religion, age, or disability. Being adept at identifying lucrative patterns is emphatically not a protected characteristic. Neither is being highly observant, excessively strategic, or simply too successful. Casinos are fully empowered to, and frequently do, ban players solely for winning too consistently. This is true even if the players have not broken a single posted rule, have not tampered with any equipment, and have done nothing but intelligently utilize their own cognitive abilities. There is no formal appeal mechanism, no hearing, no arbitration, no chance to defend your actions or offer an explanation. One day, you are a valued customer receiving personalized promotional mailers and comp offers. The next, you are being firmly escorted out by security and instructed never to return. If you attempt re-entry, you transcend the status of a banned patron and become a criminal trespasser. The most alarming consequence for players who have endured this is the scope of the exclusion. These bans frequently extend across massive gaming networks and corporate affiliations. Large corporations like Boyd Gaming, 28 properties, or Caesars Entertainment, 50 plus global properties, share this exclusion data instantly. A ban for pattern tracking at one Boyd property applies automatically to all 28 locations. If Caesars bans you in Las Vegas, you are simultaneously banned from their facilities in Atlantic City, Lake Tahoe, and everywhere else they operate. This information is instantly distributed across the network, But the situation is actually far worse. There is an industry-wide database. In fact, several exist. The most concerning is Biometrica Systems, which manages the visual casino platform, featuring advanced facial recognition capabilities. This system facilitates the sharing of data on advantaged players and banned individuals across hundreds of subscribing casinos nationwide. The protocol is simple. When you are banned at one facility, your photograph, physical profile, and the reason for exclusion are uploaded to the Biometrica database. Any other subscribing casino, which includes most major operators, immediately receives access to your file. Their networked facial recognition cameras can identify you the moment you cross their threshold, even if you have never set foot in that specific building before. Former surveillance directors confirm that this technology is standard operating procedure in most prominent casinos. You walk past an entrance camera. The system matches your face against the database, and if you are flagged, security is alerted within seconds. You might progress a mere 20 feet into a new casino before security approaches and politely asks you to vacate, all because their system recognized you from a ban issued by a completely separate property in a different state. Other behaviors that trigger bans. Pattern tracking and zone hopping are far from the only activities resulting in the quiet exclusion of regular players. Former casino employees have identified 5 additional strategies that will place you directly onto the surveillance watch list. Activities most players assume are completely innocuous. Number 1, promotional hunting. This involves appearing exclusively for promotions and special events, never playing on regular non-promotional days. You only show up when the casino offers double points, free play multipliers, exclusive drawings, or jackpot guarantees. Casinos track this metric obsessively. If your player's club card is activated solely during advertised promotional periods, surveillance takes notice. And if you are consistently profitable during those periods while demonstrating zero interest at other times, you are officially flagged as a promotional abuser. Former pit bosses receive reports detailing every player's promotional participation rate. If your file shows you visited 30 times in 6 months and all 30 visits were on promotional days, that's a red flag. They begin asking whether you are a genuinely engaged customer or merely a promotional hunter extracting pure value. Number 2, vulturing. This is the calculated practice of observing other players and strategically seizing their machine the very moment they walk away, particularly if they have been feeding it money for an extended duration, while the underlying belief that a machine that has consumed significant funds without paying is due is technically inaccurate because every spin is independent. Vulturing behavior is extremely visible to surveillance. They look for players who circle the floor, intensely observe others playing, take notes discreetly on their phones, and then swoop in immediately after a frustrated player abandons their spot. A few isolated instances may look like coincidence, repeated across multiple visits as a consistent pattern, and you will be flagged. Casinos frown heavily upon vulturing, viewing it as a predatory action targeting other paying guests. Number 3, team play coordination. This describes a scenario where multiple individuals are collaborating. Perhaps one person scouts the floor while others are playing, or several friends disperse across different zones and text each other when they locate profitable action. The section near the sports book is hot right now. Move over here. Casinos possess highly advanced systems capable of identifying relationships between patrons. If your player's club card is consistently swiped within minutes of the same 3 or 4 other individuals, if you're often seen conversing with these specific individuals, and if multiple people in your network exhibit similar playing patterns and coordinated movement behaviors, surveillance initiates a group profile. They connect the dots, and coordinated advantage play, even in the slot area, can result in the simultaneous exclusion of an entire group. Former surveillance directors detailed one instance where 6 friends were all banned on the same day because the casino's AI determined they were functioning as a collective unit. For months, they had carefully avoided playing together, always maintaining distance, yet the AI tracking software identified that their movement patterns were statistically correlated. When one individual shifted to a new zone, 1 or 2 others would independently move to that same zone within a 10 to 15-minute window. This cyclical pattern repeated across dozens of visits until surveillance figured out what was happening. Number 4. Machine manipulation attempts. This does not refer to illegal cheating devices. It encompasses opportunistic behaviors such as playing a machine while another patron's player's club card remains inserted because they failed to remove it, or settling at a machine that still contains credits left behind by a previous player who walked away without cashing out. Any behavior suggesting you are attempting to capitalize on someone else's play or rewards, even without using illegal tools, is classified as fraudulent by casinos, and you will be banned instantly. They enforce a strict zero-tolerance policy for anything resembling the manipulation of player tracking systems or the exploitation of fellow guests. Number 5. Analyzing and photographing pay tables. This is a newer tactic that former employees are witnessing with increasing regularity. Some players systematically walk the floor, using their phones to photograph the pay tables on video poker machines, or meticulously taking notes on variations of the same slot game, trying to identify which physical machines feature the most favorable return percentages. While this activity is not legally prohibited, casinos interpret it as advantage play research. When they observe you taking photos and notes, they immediately become suspicious about the intended use of that data. Are you constructing a database of the highest paying machines? Are you disseminating this information online? Are you planning to target only the versions with superior theoretical returns? Once they conclude that this is your objective, you are firmly placed on their radar as an informed player. And informed players are intrinsically problems. How to protect yourself? If you recognize any of these activities in your own playing habits, the immediate question is, what should you do? Is it possible to continue playing without facing a permanent ban? Former casino employees offer several counter strategies, but be forewarned, none are guaranteed, and some require you to deliberately compromise your advantage by playing below your capability. Strategy 1. Introduce radical variation to your behavior. Moving between machines is normal, but you must ensure you are not doing so in mathematically obvious patterns. Avoid moving every 15 minutes like a clockwork device. Do not always migrate to a new zone. Instead, occasionally spend extended time in one general vicinity, rotating between machines there. Occasionally, dedicate a full hour or longer to a single machine. The goal is to present your activity as completely random and inconsistent to the tracking software. Strategy 2. And this is painful advice for strategic players to hear. Avoid being too successful. This sounds counterintuitive, but it is genuine counsel from numerous former pit bosses. Consistent profit, visit after visit, week after week, inevitably attracts unwanted scrutiny. The mathematics are unforgiving. The casino knows the tiny percentage of players who should be long-term winners. You must occasionally absorb a losing session. Do not always leave when you are ahead. Allow yourself to endure a genuine cold streak periodically. Your best defense is to appear like a normal player who experiences highs and lows, with an acceptable skew toward the latter. The instant your results become statistically anomalous in a positive direction, you become a subject of intense interest to surveillance. Strategy 3. Diversify your play across multiple properties, if feasible. Avoid concentrating all your volume at one casino, where they can easily compile an exhaustive behavioral profile. If you have confirmed that zone hopping is effective, utilize it only sparingly at each location you visit. Frequent several different casinos in your region. This dilution makes it significantly harder for any single establishment to identify you as a problem player because they only possess a fragmented sample size of your overall behavior. Strategy 4. Maintain absolute silence regarding your strategy. Never inform fellow players that you have discerned a pattern or cracked a system. Do not post about your winning strategies or techniques on gambling forums or social media platforms. Never discuss your observations with casino personnel, not even friendly dealers. And under no circumstances should you ever boast about consistently beating the house. Casinos rigorously monitor online gambling communities. They read the Reddit threads discussing their property. They watch YouTube videos dissecting their floor. And they track Facebook groups where players share in information. They are actively hunting for advantage play discussions and seeking to identify the individuals sharing that knowledge. Keep your strategic observations entirely private. Strategy 5. Accept the harsh reality that you may still be banned. If you are observant and intelligent enough to consistently extract profit from slots, the likelihood is that you will eventually be caught. The current generation of surveillance systems is too sophisticated, the AI tracking is too relentless, the facial recognition is too precise, and the data analysis is too exhaustive. Your best realistic hope is to remain below the radar long enough to make your efforts worthwhile. But you must fully understand that casinos are actively watching for precisely what you are doing. They will act decisively the moment they conclude you pose a threat to their mandated profitability. Once your profile is flagged in their local system or uploaded to an industry-wide database, your options for future play become severely restricted. The bigger picture. Former casino executives illuminate the core systemic flaw, a fundamental contradiction the gaming industry vehemently prefers not to discuss publicly. Casinos brand themselves as egalitarian environments where anyone might win. They aggressively promote enormous jackpots, showcasing triumphant patrons holding giant checks in their marketing collateral. They invest heavily in convincing the public that luck is equitable, purely random, and within reach of every visitor. Yet, the instant you provide irrefutable evidence that skill, diligent observation, pattern recognition, and strategic thought can furnish a measurable advantage, they instantly rewrite the rules, not the regulatory rules that are published, but the essential, unwritten business policies. Suddenly, you are no longer welcome. You cease to be a valued guest and are instantly categorized as a threat that must be neutralized. The uncomfortable truth is that casinos seek players who gamble driven by emotion, not by strategy. They want individuals who compulsively chase losses out of sheer frustration. They encourage patrons who believe in hot and cold machines while remaining ignorant of statistical probability. They prize those who continue playing the same machine for hours based on the psychological commitment of their prior investment. They actively reject players who observe patterns, systematically track zones, and base their decisions on calculated data. This manufactured environment creates a strange and troubling paradox for many players. Every action taken by Marcus, Linda, and thousands of other band patrons was completely lawful. They employed no cheating tools, marked no cards, hacked no systems, and bribed no staff. They simply paid attention to their immediate surroundings and executed smart choices based on accessible observations. For this alone, for being merely observant and strategic, they received lifetime bans. Their images were uploaded into shared industry databases, and their right to enter dozens of casino properties was permanently revoked. They were excluded because they excelled too proficiently at the one thing casinos claim everyone is capable of: winning. Final warning. Therefore, here is the crucial takeaway you must grasp. If you are a regular casino player, absolutely everything you do is being observed, analyzed, tracked, and professionally profiled. Your specific movement patterns across the property, your betting habits at every machine, your overall win rates compared to established statistical norms, and the duration and frequency of your play. All of this data is continuously fed into sophisticated software platforms dedicated to identifying any pattern indicative of advantage play. If you have engaged in zone hopping, if you have been pattern tracking, if you have been promotional hunting, or utilizing any form of systematic approach that is yielding consistent success, there is a strong probability you are already flagged in their system. They may not have initiated action yet. They might still be building their case. They might be waiting to see if your winning streak is just a statistical anomaly that will regress to the mean. But rest assured, they're watching. And at some point, a management executive is going to review your comprehensive profile and render a decision. Are you a profitable customer worth retaining, or are you an unacceptable drain on revenue? When they categorize you in the latter group, you will experience the identical outcome suffered by Marcus and Linda: the unsettling conversation in the back office, the undeniable surveillance footage, the permanent banishment, the closure of your Players Club account, and possibly the upload of your facial scan into an industry database that will bar you from hundreds of other gaming properties. The single safest approach, and this is challenging advice for intelligent players to accept, is to play exclusively for pure entertainment. Do not attempt to conquer the system. Stop actively searching for patterns. Cease tracking zones. Simply acknowledge the inherent existence of the house edge. You are paying for a leisure experience, and an occasional win is merely a pleasant bonus. This is the kind of player casinos desire. This is the player who will never get banned. But if you can't resist looking for advantages, if you can't help noticing the patterns, if you've already figured out how floor management cycles work, just understand exactly what you're risking. You might manage to achieve a few profitable months. You might even accumulate a few $1,000s. You might feel superior for having momentarily outwitted them. But eventually, the surveillance system will identify you. Eventually, a pit boss will review your file. Eventually, you'll get called to that back office for that conversation. And eventually, you'll hear those words, "You're no longer welcome here." Now, I genuinely want to hear from you. Has this situation ever happened to you or someone you know closely? Have you been confronted by casino security over an activity you believed was entirely legitimate? Have you noticed the patterns I'm describing on your casino floor? Have you ever had your player's club card suddenly deactivated or your benefits mysteriously decrease? Share your story in the comments. And here's my core philosophical question for you. Do you think it's fair for casinos to ban players who aren't cheating, who are just observing and making smart decisions? Should casinos be allowed to kick you out simply for being too strategic and too successful? This is genuinely controversial, and I want to know where you stand on it. Some people think casinos have every right to refuse service. Others think it's fundamentally unfair. Let me know what you think. If this video opened your eyes to what's really happening behind the scenes at casinos, hit that like button. If you want more insider secrets from people who've actually worked in the industry, subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't find this information anywhere else. And share this with anyone you know who plays slots regularly. They need to understand they're being watched much more closely than they think. Remember, you're walking into a business that's specifically designed to take your money. The lights, the sounds, the free drinks, the floor layouts, the promotional calendars, all of it is engineered by psychologists and mathematicians to keep you playing longer and spending more. If you figure out how that system actually works and use it to your advantage, you're not a cheater. You're just paying attention, but paying attention too well, being too observant, being too smart. That can cost you your access to every casino in the region. It's their property. It's their rules. It's their decision. Play smart, but know the risks. And whatever you do, never assume that just because something's legal, it's welcome. In the casino world, being too good at their games is often treated exactly like a crime. Play smart, stay aware, protect yourself, and I'll see you at the slots. Or maybe not if you've already been flagged. Good luck out there.